Right? Test, test, 1, 2. Test, test, 1, 2.
You're invited to participate in a true multimedia experience coming to a home near you. LCM TV is bringing Lake County into the new millennium with news, live broadcast, information, music, talk shows, and local programming, all streaming in high definition online and soon to be on your Roku box. Join us at lcm-tv.com or be a part of our studio audience. You can also watch the shows at lakecomagazine.com as we provide programming to inform, enlighten, and maybe even enrage you. On Lake County Magazine Talk Show with Terry and Pete the Tax Guy, Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. Joni Lane brings a positive light to you every Monday at 3 p.m. Pasha Space brings an international flair as they discuss ecological, health, and social issues in Haiti with people around the world. End up your week with positive, conscious sounds on Saturday at 9 a.m. with Sister T on the Bridge. This show is also simulcast on KMEC 105.1 FM in Ukiah. Our latest show, LCM TV News, is brought to you live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon, featuring national, regional, and local news, weather, and sports. We have it all here for you on your local TV station, LCM TV. Join us online and soon on Roku, giving you access to all the best Lake County has to offer. We are LCMTV.com, your multimedia connection. Tune in for the fun. It's live TV at its best.
And good afternoon. This is Lake LCM TV News at noon. We're not your normal news. I'm Pete Schiffman.
I'm Megan Berger.
And we apologize for running a few minutes late today. In national news, a series of explosions erupted early Monday morning at Sagami General Depot, a U.S. Army outpost in Kanagawa Prefecture on the outskirts of Tokyo. More than 10 fire trucks were dispatched to the site of the fire, but no general evacuation of nearby areas was called. The fire was fully extinguished after firefighters deployed at the base were joined by Japanese emergency responders. The building was not a hazardous material storage facility, and it did not store ammunition or radiological materials.
The heavily armed man who was tackled by passengers aboard a high-speed train in France claims he was only trying to rob some wealthy people because he was hungry and, by the decree of Providence, found a bag of weapons. The gunman who opened fire aboard a high-speed train between Amsterdam and Paris on Friday was described as weak and malnourished by French lawyer Sophie David, who questioned him during the police interrogation in Arras after the attack. The gunman, who was heavily armed with an assault rifle, 9 cartridge magazines, an automatic Luger pistol, and a box cutter, added that he was very surprised to find out his case had received such wide publicity. The attacker was identified through his fingerprints as Ayoub El Kazani, who was known to the French and Spanish intelligences over his alleged ties to radical Islamist movements. However, according to the lawyer, the 26-year-old Moroccan consistently denies any terrorist intent and does not see any terrorist nature in his actions. The attacker claims he was planning only to ransom passengers as he was hungry. The potential massacre was prevented by 3 Americans, a Briton, and a Frenchman who happened to be in the car and quickly reacted to the situation. 2 people were injured before they managed to subdue the attacker. One of the injured, suffering a gunshot wound, still remains in the hospital in serious but stable condition.
Haji Mutaz, the Islamic State's second-in-command, was killed in a U.S. airstrike in Iraq, the White House confirmed on Friday. Mutaz was killed in the August 18th strike while traveling in a vehicle near Mosul, Iraq. Also killed was an ISIS media operative known as Abu Abdullah Mutaz, was senior deputy in the ISIS leader and a primary coordinator for moving weapons, vehicles, and explosives between Iraq and Syria. Mutaz was instrumental in a number of military operations, including the ISIS offensive in Mosul in June 2014. Mutaz's death will adversely impact ISIL's operations, given that his influence spanned ISIL's finance, media, operations, and logistics. Pentagon spokesman Jeff Davis said late Friday that Mutaz was an Iraqi national.
Stock prices around the world continued to plunge on Friday, threatening to end one of the longest bull runs in the history of the U.S. stock market. A searing 6-year rally in U.S. stocks had advanced into the summer months, shrugging off challenges like the dispute over Greece's debt that nearly led to the country's crashing out of the euro. But in the last 2 weeks, world markets tumbled as investors grew increasingly concerned about economic conditions in China, which unexpectedly devalued its currency last week. And the outlook for the economics of the other large economies of the other large developing countries. Fear and decline in the markets are coming not only as China struggles, but also as the Federal Reserve is winding down its huge stimulus efforts. Trillions of dollars of cheap money from the feds have fueled economic growth and helped push markets higher around the world. Such concerns on Friday helped push stocks far below the peaks they reached just weeks ago when investors were ebullient. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is more than 10% below the high it reached in May. At Friday's close, the index was down 430.94 points. 530.94 points, and a loss of 3.1% on the day. The Standard & Poor's 500 stock index, a broader benchmark, fell below the psychologically important 2,000 mark. It was down 3.2% on the day and more than 7% below its peak.
And a footnote to that story, this morning the stock market opened up with an $1,100 loss due to panicky trading. However, that has recovered by approximately 500 points at this time. U.S. oil prices traded below $40 a barrel for the first time since 2009 financial crisis, ending 2% lower on Friday on signs of U.S. oversupply and weak Chinese manufacturing and notching the longest weekly losing streak in almost 3 decades. U.S. crude dipped below the $40 threshold following weekly data that showed U.S. energy firms adding 2 oil drilling rigs last week, the 5th increase in a row. The rise in number of rigs emerged after the second quarter low in prices is adding to concerns U.S. shale production is proving slow to respond to falling prices, prolonging a global glut. The current collapse in oil prices, the second this year, has raised alarm with the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, commonly known as OPEC, including some of its core Gulf members. However, there is no indication they will reverse their policy of keeping production wide open to defend market share.
California NAACP filed a ballot initiative with the Secretary of State to legalize cannabis for adult use in the state's 2016 general election. The California Hawaii NAACP initiative entitled Community Act to Regulate, Control, and Tax Cannabis of 2016 is signed by Director Alice Huffman. We're getting reports that the NAACP isn't actually going to run its own initiative, but has submitted model language as a show of support for the 2016 effort. Huffman and the NAACP are working with the main group dubbed Reform California. The NAACP initiative represents another watershed moment in the history of minority support for policy reform. It notes that despite having some of the strictest cannabis laws in the world, the U.S. has the largest number of cannabis consumers. The percentage of U.S. citizens who consume cannabis is double that of the percentage of people who consume cannabis in the Netherlands, a country where the selling and adult possession of cannabis is allowed. According to the National Research Council's recent study, of the 11 U.S. states where cannabis was decriminalized, there is little apparent relationship between severity of sanctions and the rate of consumption. Cannabis has fewer harmful effects than either alcohol or cigarettes, which are both legal for adult consumption. Cannabis is not physically addictive, does not have long-term toxic effects on the body, and does not cause its consumers to become violent. There is an estimated $15 billion in illegal cannabis transactions in California each year. Taxing and regulating cannabis, like alcohol and cigarettes, could generate billions of dollars in annual revenues for California to fund what matters most to Californians: jobs, healthcare, schools and libraries, roads, and the rebuilding of the urban core. The war on drugs has not targeted the major foreign producers and importers, but rather has disproportionately targeted poor and minority recreational cannabis users in urban communities, resulting in criminal records, imprisonment, and financial penalties not imposed upon cannabis users in majority communities, and resulting in a cycle of unemployment, poverty, family breakup, and other disparate impacts on minority citizens, including criminal records. Adults 21 and over could possess up to 1 ounce under the NAACP guidelines and grow up to 25 square feet of cannabis for personal use and keep the harvest.
You know, I think Hawaii would love a highway from the coast to Hawaii.
Yeah.
25 square feet is just one plant.
Yeah. Well, coming up next, folks, is Regional News. We'll be back.
The taxman's taken all my dough and left me in my stately home, blazing on a sunny afternoon. And and I can't sail my yacht. He's taken everything I got. All I've got's this sunny afternoon.
Manticorp Tax and Accounting can help you minimize taxation, establish a corporate presence, and save you money. Our over 25 years of experience in domestic and international taxation and incorporation services makes us the best at what we do. Your first consultation at Manticorp is always free, and our discounted rates guarantee you will not end up paying for what you don't get. Try Manticorp today. For more information, call 707-701-6416 or email info@manticorpusa.com.
In the summertime.
And we're back with regional news. The state Senate voted unanimously to send Governor Jerry Brown legislation to aid residents and businesses in Napa, Solano, and Sonoma counties affected by the South Napa earthquake on August 24, 2014. Senate Bill 35 provides individuals who didn't know the extent of their earthquake damage until after the 2014 tax filing deadline the ability to apply their losses to the prior year tax returns, generating a more rapid refund in the current year that can be used to rebuild and recover from the earthquake. The bill was co-authored by Senator Lois Walk, a Democrat from Solano, and Assemblyman Bill Dodd, former council member of Napa County. It's only fair that we provide individuals who suffered property damage in last year's earthquake enough time to calculate their losses, Walk said. Additionally, this measure avoids unnecessary confusion by ensuring that the deadlines are the same for California and the federal income tax. SB 35 extends past April 15th the deadline to file an amended return applying losses sustained as a result of the earthquake to the previous tax year. The legislature has amended the Revenue and Taxation Code numerous times for past disasters to allow taxpayers to apply disaster losses to their prior year tax returns. The legislature has enacted identical relief for every other significant disaster for the past 25 years. It's vital that we come together as a state to help ease the burdens on victims of natural disasters, Dodd said. Even now, 1 year after the South Napa earthquake, many families and businesses are still struggling with the cost of recovery. SB 35 will provide many of them with much-needed relief. Amendments to SB 35, taken in Assembly, enable individuals affected by future natural disasters in California to apply disaster losses to the prior year tax return through January 1, 2024. This would also apply to losses incurred by the Rocky and Jerusalem fires.
From the past and the depths of the federal government's files, a study has emerged reaffirming Sonoma County's, indeed the North Coast's, sublimity. Based on its climate and scenery, Sonoma County was ranked as the 20th best place to live out of the 3,111 counties in the United States, while Mendocino and Humboldt counties ranked 4th and 2nd, respectively. The obscure U.S. Department of Agriculture report received a new wave of attention this week from the Washington Post, which delved into the intricacies of the government rankings. They are based on data from 1999, prompting the question of whether they still hold up for a country that has seen such tremendous change in the years since. The rankings are linked to a natural amenities index developed by the USDA that factors in a mix of favored environmental qualities, including mild, sunny winters, temperate summers, topographic variation, and access to a body of water.
The U.S. Geological Survey reported a magnitude 3.92 earthquake near Healdsburg at 10:41 a.m. Sunday, causing a tremor felt as far away as Santa Rosa and Middletown. The epicenter was northeast of the geysers, according to the U.S. Geological Survey website. The quake was described as a short jolt. Healdsburg Police Department received only one call and no reports of damage, according to a spokesperson.
It was supposed to be a relaxing afternoon in the wine country, 11 book-loving women on the luxurious Napa Valley wine train, but passengers say a Saturday trip ended with the mostly African-American group ordered off the wine and food excursion. The members of a long-standing book club boarded the wine train at about 11 a.m. on Saturday, but were told to leave the train in St. Helena after the maitre d'hotel complained about their behavior, saying they were being disruptive, according to Lisa Johnson, an Antioch author and member of the club. The train stopped in St. Helena, where the women, 10 black and 1 white, were escorted through the 6 cars and off the train before a van took them back to Napa. Though the book club passengers received refunds for their ill-fated trip, Johnson remained indignant afterward and denied any disruptive behavior. The group, quote, wants a public apology for the humiliations they caused to us as professional women. Kira Devitt, spokeswoman for the wine train, confirmed the removal of the 11 women, saying that at least 3 passengers in the same car complained about the book club's noise level. If guests are being severely disruptive, that's when we discuss whether they should be removed, said Devitt. We don't make that judgment unless we receive a complaint from the people around them. She added such removals are not an uncommon occurrence, but she did not immediately have information on the average number per year. Wine Train Management is conducting an internal audit to see whether staff members followed company policy during the Saturday incident. After several miles of chit-chatting among the club members, Johnson said the train's maitre d'hotel told the group, "Your noise level is a little loud and you have to tone it down so we don't make others uncomfortable. We thought the purpose of the wine train was to have a good time and enjoy being a large group. No one told us of any noise ordinance. If you get a group of 11 women talking and laughing, it's going to be loud," Johnson said. Later, the maitre d'hotel came by a second time, warning the women that they would be ordered off the train if they didn't quiet down, Johnson said. She said people were complaining, and I said, "Who's complaining?" She said, "Well, people's faces are uncomfortable," said Johnson. At that point, one passenger nearby said, "Well, this is not a bar." We reacted, "Yes, it is a bar on wheels." We wanted to get off through the exit door of the train, but we were told we had to go through all the other cars, she said, adding that her traveling party included an 80-year-old woman and another passenger using a cane after a recent knee surgery. We were paraded, 10 African-American women and 1 white woman being paraded through the cars with 4 police officers outside. There were no arrests or citations, and the officers left after a few minutes. I
No
did see that
comments.
on my Facebook this morning when I got up.
Sonoma County officials began posting signs Friday at public beaches along the Russian River, warning swimmers of possible toxic algae blooms. The Environmental Health and Safety section of the Sonoma County Department of Health Services and the North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board are recommending beachgoers practice safety precautions after health department officials detected small amounts of the blue-green algae and toxins in the river. County health officials are advising visitors to avoid drinking river water or cooking with it. Additionally, visitors should supervise young children near the water as well as pets. Beachgoers are also advised to wash themselves, their families, and their pets with clean water after swimming in the river. Any fish caught in the river should be consumed only after the guts and liver have been removed and the fillet rinsed with clean water. Although blue-green algae is common in many water environments, warm waters, low flows, and abundant nutrients can cause algae to grow faster than usual. The conditions also encourage the growth of algae mats, or algae blooms, as are also known, according to the health department officials. The current drought and abnormally hot temperatures are factors in the rapid growth of the blooms. Although some blue-green algae have the ability to produce toxins, the Health Service Department said most do not. Algae blooms can vary in form, with some appearing green, blue, green, white, or brown, with a foamy, scummy, or mat-like texture, health department officials said. Blue-green algae toxins can cause a variety of symptoms, including irritation of the eye, nose, and mouth and skin, gastrointestinal symptoms such as abdominal pains, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and liver inflammation, as well as neurological symptoms such as muscle tremors, seizures, and difficulty breathing, according to the health department. Clear Lake also has this problem.
Every year in late summer and early fall, Sonoma County residents face the same dilemma: what to do with all the apples. Since there are only so many pies, tarts, cakes, and apple kimchi that can be made, and fresh apples, especially the Hallow Gravenstein, only last a few weeks at most. Luckily, Slow Food Russian River has come up with an alternative way to make the most of our region's other fruit. For the second year in a row, they are providing a free community apple press at the Luther Burbank Gold Ridge Experiment Farm in Sebastopol. We love the wine produced in Sonoma County, says Slow Food volunteer Bob Burke, but we would really like to see the apple growers stay in business and earn a decent living. Burke had the idea for the community press after his German-born wife told him about the community ovens in her hometown. He arranged for 2 motorized wooden apple presses at the Gold Ridge Farm for public use Saturdays and Sundays through October 31st. People are invited to buy apples from local growers or harvest their own and use the press to make juice that can be enjoyed fresh, frozen, and fermented into cider. This project is part of the Slow Foods 12-year initiative to build a demand for Sonoma County's apples and reduce the amount of fruit rotting in the county's iconic orchards. As Burke explains, one of the Slow Food Russian's founding members, Paula Shatkin, conceived the idea to rebuild awareness for local apples while driving through the county 15 years ago. She knows that many of the old apple orchards were being plowed under to make way for grapes.
I don't know about you, but I sure love some good apple pies.
Bradenton apples are so amazing. Grew up around them.
We're going to be back with your local news.
All right.
Okay.
SSS Multimedia is sending you smoke signals, providing their clients with the ultimate communication and multimedia marketing, distribution, production, and web-based services. They feature high-def video equipment and quality audio sound. SSS is your multimedia source, from graphics for business cards to television production, radio, live sound, and everything in between. SSS is sending you smoke signals. Get your message out with SSS Multimedia. For more information, call 707-701-6416 or email info@sssmultimedia.com.
And welcome back in local news. The Peterson fire is still being battled in the Highland Springs area of Kelseyville. It had expanded to 215 acres as of yesterday, and firefighters are still holding it at a 30% containment. The blaze sprung up on Saturday afternoon near the intersection of Peterson Lane and Adobe Creek and was hit immediately with air support and fire personnel. Although no official evacuation have been ordered, there was word Saturday night that several homes on Peterson were evacuated. The fire was originally estimated at 400 acres, but after aerial measurements it was downgraded to 200, only growing another 15 acres overnight on Sunday. Firefighters have held it to that so far.
Following a frank discussion between Judge Andrew Bloom, defense attorney Stephen Brown, and plaintiffs Robert Bob and Jan Sanders, Judge Bloom dismissed without prejudice the 3-year-old civil case filed by the Sanders, claiming that Lake County Supervisor and Lake County bail bondsman Rob Brown allegedly committed assault and battery on Bob Sanders on August 21st of 2012. Stephen Brown objected to the verbal motion made by the Sanders, but Judge Bloom repeatedly cited the judge's bench book and other law books which stated plaintiff has the right to dismiss without prejudice the case he has filed if he does so before the trial. Dismissal without prejudice gives the Sanders the right to refile the case in another court, and the couple openly shared with all in the courtroom how they had secured an attorney, a Sonoma County attorney named Crankman of the law firm Crankman Peterson LLP, refile a totally new case in another court outside of Lake County. A dismissal with prejudice, which Rob Brown's son Stephen wanted, would not allow the plaintiffs to refile their case in another court. Bob Sanders recounted in a hearing on August 19th how attorneys he approached in Lake County all declared a conflict of interest because of Rob Brown's position as supervisor and bail bondsman. Judge Bloom acknowledged that the Sanders, through no fault of their own, were presently without an attorney to represent them. Susan Feeney originally served as Sanders' attorney, but she filed a motion to be released from the case in July. Judge Stephen Hedstrom imposed sanctions on her twice for not showing up in court, but granted her a release from her position as Sanders' attorney. Over the past 3 years, Judge Richard Martin originally presided over this case, but recused himself after granting a number of demurrer motions. Retired Judge Robert Crone in Judge Hedstrom's court granted demurrers with prejudice to the rest of the charges, except the 2 remaining charges of assault and battery.
And folks, if you heard those fire wrenches in the background, there's a reported fire in Sigler Canyon area, so we'll update you as we receive more information. Following a frank discussion, excuse me folks for a second.
Next story. Sorry.
Following a frank discussion between Judge Andrew Bloom.
Next story.
Oh,
skipping
sorry
the
about that
story.
folks, missed that one. Hey, what can I say? I got
I'll
interrupted.
just forget about it. Yeah, we'll just do the next one.
Not your normal news, folks. Kindness and Generosity Scholarship Fund application period is open for the upcoming 8-week compassion-based mindfulness and stress reduction, personal clarity, and emotional freedom courses, which begin on Tuesday, September 8th at 6:30 p.m. at the Clear Lake Riviera Community Association Room, 9689 Soda Bay Road in Clear Lake, Riviera. Applications will be accepted through September 4th and can be found at www.compassion-basemindfulness.com/courses.html. Local mindfulness teacher and life coach Joanne Sagato, MA, offers a scholarship for those wishing to take the 8-week course who may not otherwise be able to attend. The prices for the course have recently been lowered to help increase opportunities for Lake County residents to participate, but the scholarships are invaluable to some. We've had over 9 full scholarships and many partial scholarships awarded since the fund started, noted Staccato. Some course attendees have had life-changing transformations in just the first few sessions, and certainly most all have by the end. Mindfulness is a body-based practice that invites one to purposely pay kind, non-judgmental attention to the direct experience of senses, thoughts, and emotions. Studies indicate that mindfulness practices can help reduce stress and stress-related illnesses, increase focus and attention, decrease incidences of and relapses with depression, help reduce anxiety, aid the immune system, and aid in sleep and digestive disorders. As well, mindfulness has been shown to help with addictive and compulsive disorders. Ms. Staccato noted, besides reducing stress, compassion-based mindfulness and the supporting tools I teach in the 8-week course help participants gain deeper clarity, a new vitality, and sense of freedom in their lives. The course includes work with journaling and setting intentions, giving a well-rounded set of tools to help navigate life, increase satisfaction, reduce stress, and gain resiliency. Added Staccato, who is the author of Companioning the Sacred Journey, a guide to creating compassionate container for your spiritual practice, in her forthcoming book, Compassion-Based Mindfulness for Peace, Clarity, and Freedom. Early application for a scholarship is encouraged as they are awarded on a first-come, first-served basis. For information on the course and the scholarship application, call 707-350-1719. And go ahead.
Yeah, weather? Yeah, okay. So today we're going to be sunny.
Talk about that you're doing the weather first.
Is it the weather?
It's the weather.
This is the weather.
Hot and steamy.
You can't just jump into today it's this. It's like, and now your weather.
Not your normal news.
That's right, and it's not your normal weather.
Your turn.
Okay. So today it's going to be sunny with a high of 91. Winds will be from the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight will bring a mostly clear sky with a low of 58, and winds will be remaining out of the southwest at 10 to 15 mile per hour. Tomorrow will be partly cloudy with a high of 94. Winds staying out of the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. And tomorrow night we'll have clear skies with a low of 59. Winds remaining at their southwesterly origin at 10 to 15 miles per hour. When we join you back here on Wednesday, we will have more sunshine with some clouds and a high of 91. Winds also out of the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour and 0 chance of rain.
Okay, with sports, we taking a break or not? Nope, okay. Here we go with sports, folks. IndyCar driver Justin Wilson has been airlifted to hospital with a head injury after being struck by debris during the ABC Supply 500 at Pocono Raceway on Sunday. Sage Karam spun and hit the wall heavily on lap 179 while leading. As Wilson attempted to avoid the crashed Indy car, he was hit by a part of the nose cone and went straight onto the inside barrier. Medical teams quickly attended both drivers, and Karam was extracted from his car, walking away with a small limp. Wilson required more attention from the medical crew. The Andretti driver was taken via ambulance to the helicopter and was then transported to Lehigh Valley Health Network Cedar Crest Hospital. He was airlifted to the hospital with a head injury and is in a coma. Karam was taken to hospital via ambulance for further evaluation of a right foot injury. Wire2Fish.com has ranked Clear Lake number 4 on its top 20 largemouth bass lakes in the country. The only bodies of water scoring higher were number 1 Lake Guntersville in Alabama, Sam Rayburn Reservoir in Texas, and Toledo Bend Reservoir, which borders Texas and Louisiana. Lake Berryessa in Napa County pulled down the number 16 ranking in the online fishing magazine's poll, while the California Delta was number 5. The Wire2Fish.com editorial staff determined the rankings and released them earlier this month. They had this to say about Clear Lake, which has a wonderful reputation for not only kicking,
That's a worldwide record.
which has a worldwide reputation for not only kicking out a lot of bass, but also for the big weight it produces during tournaments held here. Due to its name, many anglers assume that it's a clear water fishery, but actually it has an interesting greenish hue because of its high fertility levels. If only they knew the truth. Clear Lake is where swim bait fishing becomes naturally known, so as you can probably guess, it gets a lot of fishing pressure. Regardless of the crowds, it still takes tremendous weights to win fishing tournaments throughout the entire year. You can fish offshore, rock piles, grass beds, docks. There's no limit to the patterns on this lake. This is one of those special lakes that has a real possibility of producing a once-in-a-lifetime bass.
That is good.
Shall we get this
And
one?
as long as they don't eat it. You want to take it?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Give you a breather. The Upper Lake High School cross-country team is hosting the Cougar Classic Invitational and Community Fun Run on August 29th at Upper Lake High School. The first race begins at 8 a.m. The Cougar Classic, a 2-mile run, features high school divisions for varsity and junior boys as well as varsity girls. The entry fee is $10 per runner. The Community Fun Run has 3 divisions: children younger than 5, which is a $5 entry, ages 6 to 12, which is a $10 entry, ages 13 and older, which is a $20 entry. There will be awards for the top 10 individual finishers and for the top 3 teams. Send entry fees to Upper Lake High School. Attention Linda Wade at 675 Clover Valley Road in Upper Lake, California, 95485. Phone number 533-5397 for more information. All race proceeds support the Upper Lake High School cross-country program.
I remember those days. Was that 13 over? That mean I can run? Sorry. 2015 Santa Rosa Marathon, talking about running, drew numerous familiar runners as well as athletes from various corners of the world to the local confines of the course early Sunday morning. The top overall spot for the full marathon was earned by Javier Madrid, a 25-year-old runner from Yucaipa. Yes, seriously, folks, Yucaipa. His time was 2 hours, 26 minutes, and 50 seconds, with a few minutes slower than last year's best time, but he said he couldn't be happier with his race on Sunday. The Santa Rosa Marathon began at Juilliard Park and steadily looped through downtown Santa Rosa before winding its way down the Santa Rosa Creek Trail, cutting through Deloach Vineyard and Winery, and circling northeast down Piner Road. The final loop brought the finishers back to Juilliard Park. This course was exactly what drew runners like Madrid to Santa Rosa. Madrid can use Sunday's race time to qualify for the Boston Marathon, as sign-ups for the 2016 race open in about a month's time. Caroline Baller of Temecula won the women's race in a ruling after the race's conclusion. Baller crossed the finish line second to Wendy Jennings of Huntington Beach. But Jennings, an experienced distance runner who competed in the Boston Marathon in the past 3 years, was later disqualified for failure to register at one or more of the various timing spots along the course. Baller, who crossed the finish line in 2 hours and 45 minutes and 13 seconds, was elevated to first place. And here's a good story, folks. Runners from around the world came to Treasure Island Saturday to showcase both their athletic prowess and their drinking abilities. The inaugural Beer Mile World Classic had about 300 willing participants, including plenty of serious running ringers. The goal? To beat competitors in running a mile while stopping every lap to chug a beer. That's my type of race. There was plenty of amateur racers who lamented that downing the beer was the hardest part. I don't think so. The beer had to have alcohol content of 5% or higher if the runners puked during the race. They'd have to run a penalty lap. Jeremy Eaton, a 26-year-old web developer, was able to get through a race without upchucking. Eaton said he had a headache after winning his race for the time of 6 minutes and 15 seconds. He heard about the Beer Mile World Classic through a friend, and Eaton hadn't run since high school, so he figured why not. To prepare, he started running every day, but he didn't practice the beer drinking part. The secret, he said, was to get the bubbles out of the drink. The final races for the elite runners, Caitlin Judd, a 31-year-old physical therapist from Charleston, South Carolina, won the elite women's race, clocking in 6 minutes and 48 seconds. She sported a glove to help her better take the caps off the beer bottles. The The elite males race was won by Canadian Lewis Kent, who came in at 5 minutes and 9 seconds. He said it was a low chance he couldn't make Team Canada for running, so it meant everything to him that he could place first in the Beer Mile World Classic. Oh, geez, give me a break.
Only in America.
Final word.
God.
Final word.
I don't know, the Aussies would probably do something like that.
Yeah, that's true. It was probably invented in.
Probably.
A bizarre fish with teeth resembling those of a human baby and a bloodline tracing to the flesh-eating piranhas of South America has turned up in a Rohnert Park lake. California Department of Fish and Wildlife officials confirmed a photo submitted to the Press Democrat by angler Jeffrey Arend that it was of a rare pacu, a freshwater fish originally from the Amazon that is known for its crushing jaw. Arend said he landed it August 14th at Roberts Lake. He took his picture before the fish slipped from his hands and he kicked it back in the water. He didn't realize what he had until he hopped on the internet and found similar photos. Coincidentally, another pacu was caught 2 days later near Stockton in the San Joaquin Delta. Pacu, a relative of the carnivorous piranha, are sold at pet shops in the United States but are illegal in California. The Department of Fish and Wildlife spokesperson Andrew Hewen, who identified the fish in Aaron's photo, said people bring them into the state and dispose of them in lakes and rivers.
Jeez.
You see the picture of that?
Yeah.
They're nasty looking.
Ah,
Oh.
scary.
I know a couple
is.
people have had them, and they'll get so big they'll break the glass in the tank. They just smack up against it and they'll crack
Oh
the
my
glass.
gosh,
And
but
so then
why
people
would
let them go in
people- Why?
because they don't ever stop growing. They get too big
Don't they
for the
realize that
tank.
That could actually bite someone?
I don't think they care.
I don't
Yeah.
think you're on microphone, dear.
I'm not.
I know. Anyway, thank you for tuning in to LCM TV News at noon. We're not your normal news. I'm Pete Schiffman.
I'm Megan Berger.
Our next live program is A Positive Light today at 3 p.m. Join us on Wednesday for LCM TV News at noon.
And talk show.
And Lake County Magazine Talk Show.
Thank you very much at 9 o'clock.
You gotta say that, they can't hear me.
I'm sorry. And at 9 o'clock Wednesday morning, we have LCM Talk Show with Terry Larson and Pete the Tax Guy. So tune in for that as well. Thank you, folks. Have a great day.
Have a great day.
Yeah, 45 minutes, that was good.